So nice to see you all. I'm Amanda Glen Smith, Chief Client Officer at Innovid, and I'm thrilled to introduce Samantha Avivi, Chief Marketing Officer at Bayer. Samantha's career has spanned agencies, brands, retailers, you name it, giving her a unique perspective on what it takes to build enduring brands. Speaking of storytelling together, we are fortunate enough at Innovid to be able to partner with Bayer for many years on ad serving and verification, helping ensure that powerful science-based messaging shows up in the right place at the right time. So Samantha, let's start with your journey, shall we?
Yes, we shall.
So as I mentioned, your career has spanned brands, agencies, and retail giants. What's the common theme or thread that's really shaped your approach to marketing and brand building, and how has that evolved at Bayer?
Yeah. So going back to my background where I've worked across agency, client, I've even worked on customer teams. Ultimately, what it comes down to is doing what's right for the consumer and everything that we do. Making sure that we understand what she needs, wants, desires, how we can serve her in a way that she, whether it's expected or unexpected. So in the agency world, that showed up in the integrated messaging that we were bringing to life, whereas in the client world, it shows up in everything from how do we show up on the shelf to how do we bring our innovation to market and the relationships we have with our partners.
Well, she thanks you. I feel like it's very common to see that you're consumer-centric and that you really bring that forward through everything that you all do at Bayer.
Thank you.
So Bayer's mission is health for all, hunger for none. Health for all, hunger for none. How do you translate that mission into marketing that both resonates and drives change?
Great. So Bayer works across 3 different divisions. The first division, which I represent, is consumer health. So we have brands such as aspirin, but also Claritin, One-A-Day, Miralax, Alka-Seltzer. But we also have 2 other divisions that are represented here this week. The first one is the crop science business, Monsanto, and then we have our pharmaceutical business. So this health for all, hunger for none really uniquely serves our company because we span across all 3 of these divisions, and that's very distinct for us. Within consumer health, we have a specific mission that we're looking to, which is to give access to billions for self-care. And so basically, in a world where there are people that suffer from everything from constipation to headaches to allergies, how do we give them the opportunity to take care of themselves? And how does that tie into marketing is your part of your question. And really what it comes down to is we have a brand building framework called TB4L, or Trusted Brands for Life. And with our 160-year-old heritage, and yes, Bayer is 160 years old, with that type of heritage, we could really find a repeatable model in order to build that credibility and trust within our brands to ultimately drive that access and that household penetration. What's interesting is we've just recently researched what we call TB4L, or Trusted Brands for Life. And what we've done is we've looked at best practices across CPG. We looked at what our model uniquely brought in building trust and innovation, and then combined that with AI. And this has really given us a great accelerator and a proprietary tool that we're now advancing into the future to ultimately build what you would ask, Trusted Brands for Life and health for all, hunger for none.
That's awesome. I feel like it's such a thoughtful approach because the health landscape is so complex. So to hear that you've thought through all of that is really impressive.
Thank you.
Also, I brought every single one of those drugs that you mentioned in my doc kit this week.
I appreciate that.
So you've spoken about building trust,
Yes.
especially in areas where there's a lot of misinformation these days. How do you ensure your marketing is both credible and culturally relevant?
Yes. So at Bayer, and that is so true, it's unfortunate that we are in an industry that is here to help people get better, and there are players out there that misrepresent information. And we take lots of pride at Bayer to be that trustful source in all that we do. The Bayer mark really is a sign of quality. And again, into our brand building framework, trusted brands for life. So it really penetrates through everything we do, from our science and everything from the first moment we find the opportunity all the way to when we go to market. We make sure that everything is truthful. Um, Unfortunately, in today's industry, we're seeing lots of influencers out there and people that might not know the truth in what it takes to get better, feel better. And people know that when it's a Bayer product, it's truth in what we're bringing to market.
Yeah, credibility first, right?
That's correct.
I mean, I feel like I diagnose myself on TikTok all day long, and it's probably not the best thing to do.
I know.
So a lot of legacy brands or heritage brands struggle to stay fresh. Bayer seems to be doing the opposite by leaning into bold, creative, and pop culture. What's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, well, it starts with, again, consumer insights. So we pride ourselves in really spending a lot of time understanding the consumers. But then it really moves into understanding what our brands stand for. And by the way, this is another way we build trust, is because we know what our brand uniquely needs to be. And we show up consistently that way. But knowing what the consumer wants and what our brands stand for, it's very important we figure out what's culturally relevant at the time. So I'll give a perfect example for our Miralax brand. Our Miralax brand stands for, and sorry, you'll all hear me talk about poop because that's a common thing for us, but poop the way you're meant to. And so what we've learned about consumers is that particularly athletes, they have a hard time being all in the game if they don't poop before a game. And so as a result of this great insight, we did a program called Go Number 2. And we specifically sponsored the NCAA women's finalists, number 2. And so these women would stand up wearing their number 2 jersey proudly and talking about Miralax and how important it is to poop before the big game. And this effort combined with another program we did, which was amazing. It was a poop tracker, which, by the way, I'm glad I'm making you laugh, but a lot of families track their poops, a lot of roommates track their poops, and then we feel badly for those that can't keep up with the poop, so we prescribe Miralax for the poop. We hit 30 million views.
Stop.
I kid you not. And we saw with this Mirror Fast campaign that overnight, within the first week, sales on Amazon went up 30%. And so this is a way to stay true to your brand, understand the consumer insight, but stay relevant to a culture.
Okay, where do we sign up for the competition? My 2-year-old son, I think, would be in the running.
Oh,
for that contest.
Let me tell you, my kids think it's the coolest thing that I talk about poop every single day. So
I love it. I mean, it's so refreshing to see brands like Bayer just come in unique, interesting ways that we don't always think about.
Yeah.
You know? All right, so next question. Bayer works across deeply personal categories. We just talked about one. So everything
you think?
from digestive health to menstruation. How do you navigate those conversations with both empathy and impact?
Great question. It's the same formula. It's, again, our model for building brands. It's really understanding what the consumer's going through and what our brands stand for. So I'll give you an example on Midol. So Midol is all about, our purpose is to end the normalization of period discomfort. It is amazing. I have 16-year-old daughter, 19-year-old daughter, and they think it's okay to feel horrible when they're getting their periods. And I've had conversations with them, we've had conversations with them as a brand, is you don't need to accept this. And so a big part of what we do as a brand is education. So we do podcasts, talks around the town that says, you know what, you don't need to accept this discomfort that you get with your period. And then it doesn't hurt that Midol is the only brand that addresses 7 symptoms that come with period discomfort. So, of course, they're going to want to use our brand versus the competition. So we do it in a way that empowers our consumer, understands their pain point, and is authentic and true to our brands.
Okay, pop quiz. We didn't prep for this.
Uh-oh.
Can we name the 7 symptoms?
Oh, gosh. No.
Cramps?
Cramps, bloating, back cramp,
headache,
headache,
moodiness, PMS?
Yeah.
Is that a symptom? Milo doesn't treat that.
Oh, I'm looking at my team. Come on, what's the last two? They don't know.
I was just joking.
There's 7 of them.
You know what? I would think there are more. I would honestly think there are more.
Yeah.
I'm like, does
Moodiness. Do we say moodiness?
attitude, PMS count? You know?
Yeah, there are plenty of them.
But I love this because you're basically breaking the taboos and kind of removing any stigma around any of these categories. So it's a very creative way to approach it.
Yeah, stigma is exactly right.
So speaking of creativity, what's your take on the state of creativity in consumer health marketing today, and where do you think it needs to push harder?
Okay. I think, look, creativity is constantly advancing, and same is true for the healthcare industry. If I think back to a little while ago, I'm not going to say how old I am, and I think about the potential that I was actually going to be working in healthcare, I would have hit my head and said, oh, that's not a creative industry. And here we are today at Cannes Lion. We have our whole evening that's all about creativity and celebrating that in the health industry. And it's come so far, and I'm proud to be here representing Bayer and representing healthcare in this creative forum. With that said, one of the things I love about creativity is there's still so much to go. And we have today so many new emerging spaces that we can maximize. The approach to brand building needs to stay the same, but how we go to market, whether it's through influencers, whether it's through social media, whether it's through AI, that is where the opportunity lies. It's very interesting. So being in a regulated category, we get a lot of reviews of building trust, making sure that everything we put out there is truthful. We have recently leveraged AI to look at our content to make sure that we could, and this is another thing with healthcare, getting it out there quicker, being at the speed of culture real time. So for example, we have just invested in this AI platform that reviewed 1,200 pieces of content over a short period of time and flagged only 6 to look at, and of the 6, all 6 went through. So talking about adjustment in creative world is, we shouldn't be, if we're spending all this time reviewing creative work, we're going to miss the opportunity. So I would say it's using these new platforms, being faster with your approach, and staying true to the brand building framework that you know separates your business.
Yeah, I mean, you said it perfectly, but I think being creative doesn't mean you can't be effective as well. And you have to think of new, unique ways to use tools and leverage AI and things of that nature to speak outside the box that you're normally confined in, especially in a regulated industry.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so what are you most excited about right now? A campaign, a shift in consumer behavior, or just something new that's on the horizon for you or the team?
Oh, that's a good question. What am I most excited about? So for those of you who know me or work with me, I'm pretty much an Energizer bunny, and I sort of get excited over a lot that we do. But right now, I'm really excited about the future for Bayer. And I know that sounds a little corny, but I am also corny. We have spent the past year really getting very solid and sharp on understanding our consumer needs, understanding what makes our brands differentiated, and looking to accelerate our business. And we've spent a year investing to see what's coming in the future as an unlock. So what gets me excited, what gets me up every single day from a professional standpoint is seeing how our teams can unlock this great work that we've done thus far going forward.
Well, thank you, Sam, for joining us today, for sharing your journey, your experience. It was a pleasure to be on stage with you.
Yes, it was fun. Thank you.